Hey up, way! Oh look, out and about on the old BSA Goldstar 650 for the first time this year. Blimey, last time I rode this bike was the day after I got it from the dealership. Hey, back in October sometime. Aye, but out and about on it now. The observant of you will notice the engine light's on. It's a funny thing with these BSA Goldstars. It seems to be a bit of a thing with them that they like to chuck an engine light for no obvious reason. Now, this engine light came on after my abortive attempts to fit the Hitchcock's decap pipe. And if you haven't seen that video, go back a few videos and have a look at it. But basically, I wasn't able to fit the decap pipe because this bike's fitted with the BSA dresser bars and the two are an incompatible fit. So I ended up, rather than taking the dresser bars off, I ended up putting the stock exhaust back on, and then when I fired the bike up in strict adherence to the guidance which says turn on the ignition, wait for the engine light to go out and then fire the bike up, I did all that, but the engine light came on. So I reset it using an OBD2 reader and an adapter to be able to fit it to this bike, and there's a video of that as well if you want to go back and have a look. So did that, and it went out, it reset, so I thought, hey, job's a good one. But turned ignition on today to come out, waited for the engine light to go out, which it did, fired the bike up, let it idle for a bit like it's supposed to, and sure as sure, engine light came on. So I'm given to understand that after a few cycles of ignition on, ignition off, start up, etc, etc, it will reset itself. Well, we'll see. I'll keep you informed. But hey, the number of videos I've seen on YouTube, POV videos of people riding these here BSA Goldstars, the number I've seen where the engine light's on, just seems to be a thing. It happened on the Interceptor that I had, the Royal Enfield Interceptor 650 I had, just on one occasion, for no apparent reason, out and about, engine light came on, bike was absolutely fine, and then after a few trips out on the bike, ignition on and off, etc, it went out, never came back on again, not during my ownership anyway. So anyway, who knows, it's academic because we're out and about in the beautiful county of Yorkshire on a lovely early spring day on a modern classic motorcycle, sporting the badge BSA Birmingham Small Arms. Take note, Darcy and the old man. Hey, Birmingham Small Arms, not British Small Arms. Eh? Forgot to do your research there, didn't you, pal? Said with such authority and conviction as well. By both of them. Wrong. Any would think I'd never made a mistake on this channel. Of course I've made plenty, haven't I? Just a bit of fun, just a bit of friendly banter. Aye, no wrong with a bit of friendly banter. I'm quite happy with it. I don't start taking me back home and making separate videos about people just because they've taken issue with something. Life's too short. There's a long tradition in Yorkshire, and maybe in other counties as well, probably in the north of England generally, But you can take the rip. You can take the rip out of people and not mean it, and they can take the rip back. And it's great. Don't have a problem with it at all. It's very, very obvious when people are being nasty or abusive or thoroughly, personally insulting, you know, ad hominem insults, where it's directed to you personally. You can tell when that is, and you can tell where somebody's just having a bit of a a bit of a dig, and that's absolutely fine. But yeah, not everybody's, some people are just a little bit thin-skinned, aren't they? Can't take it. But anyway, let's not go there, eh? Hello, sir. Yeah, it's quite an intoxicating ride, this here BSA, apart from looking absolutely stunning. Because it's a big old single there, putting away, at times I'm just sort of thinking, oh, I'm on Norman, the classic 350, and then I wind the throttle back and hey, oh, I realise I'm not on a 350. This has got more mid-range poke than the Interceptor. Certainly the Interceptor that I had. And certainly more mid-range poke than the Super Meteor that I had. So it's a very tractable engine, this here Rotax 650. Liquid cooled, single cylinder. But it makes a glorious sound out here in the sticks. Now this here is not an Iuchi. This is from a company called Chigee. And I don't know if you've seen past videos, but they've also sent me a wireless phone holder stroke charger that I've got on the classic 350, and also a separate tyre pressure monitor that I've got on the classic 350. Good quality stuff. But this is the TFT they do, and as far as I'm aware they only do this size, 5-inch TFT. Now, I'll be honest, right up front, a lot more expensive than the Iuchis, a lot more expensive. But you do get tyre pressure monitoring front and rear, you do get independent GPS, you do get video cameras front and rear with constant recording, and obviously you get Apple CarPlay, as you can see there, and Android Auto. The other thing that you get on these that you don't get on the Iuchi is you get proximity warning. So the rear camera is configured to give you a warning if somebody comes up on your blind spot. So, you know, you pay your money and you take your choice, but if you're interested in any of the Chigee stuff, it is quality, well-made quality kit. If you follow the link in the description below and have a look, see if there's anything there you fancy. But they all pretty much work the same way, whichever sort of company they come from. I just happen to think that the Iuchi ones far and away are the best value for money given the functionality. Tell you another thing with these BSA Goldstars. Today's the first time I've had to fill it up. What a fight I've had with that there filler cap. Hey, I couldn't fathom it out. And old Colin told me he had the same problem when he first got his BSA, so not just me, obviously, but it sort of goes on in a strange way. It don't feel like a bayonet, it don't feel like a screw, and it don't feel like a push fit. It feels like a very unsatisfactory combination of all three. I'm sure I'll get used to it. And the other thing you'll notice on these here BSA Goldstars is the gear lever is when you're at the top end, 5th gear, or when you're at the bottom end, 1st gear, if you try to go any further, rather than just meet a resistance, it still moves, and that's just the thing with the gearbox. So like if I'm in 5th gear now, if that were top gear on any other bike, or most other bikes, you'd go to find another gear that wasn't there, and it'd just be solid, wouldn't it? The lever would be solid, it just wouldn't move any further. Whereas on this it does, but it don't click, so you know you're not getting another gear. And it's the same when you're in 1st. When you're in 1st, if you think you're in 2nd and you've another gear to go down, the gear lever actually still moves, but it don't click. It's just one of those quirky little things, I think, that add to the overall idiosyncratic nature of bikes like this. But for a single, lovely and smooth once the revs are up. Look at that view. And I'm back now to having the GoPro Hero 13 on the as the helmet camera, and the Insta360 Ace Pro 2 as the bike camera facing my fat face. And the reason is, on a video which I hope you've seen prior to this, I swapped them round and I put the ND filter on the Ace Pro 2 and went into manual settings and configured the manual settings the same way that I've always done on the GoPros, and the footage is nowhere near as good. So that unless I've done something wrong, I'm sure I haven't, conclusion that I've drawn is that when the Ace Pro 2 is in fully automatic mode, you just let it do its thing, the picture is superb, absolutely superb, no two ways about it. And it performs better in low light because it's got a bigger sensor than the GoPro. So yeah, but in manual mode with an ND filter on, it doesn't seem to render the dynamic range, the colour or any of that as well as the Hero 13 with an ND filter on manual settings. So this arrangement works absolutely fine for me. I mean, some of there are more colour profiles to go for, not profiles but settings on the Ace Pro 2. The one I found I like the best is Leica Vivid. Now, if you know anything about photography, you'll know that Leica, very, very famous name with cameras and lenses over many, many decades, and Leica cameras still today hugely expensive, but right at the top of the range. And they have the lenses are lights, L-E-I-T-Z, lights, because I remember the Leicas of old, on the lens it'd say Lights Wetzlar. I think Wetzlar is the town in Germany where they're based or were based. So yeah, and it's a Leica lens, it's a Leica made, Leica designed lens on the Ace Pro 2. And there's a couple of settings that are Leica settings for the colour, and I have it on Leica Vivid, and it looks absolutely superb when it's facing in this direction. But as I said, with the ND filters on and manual settings, don't look right at all to me. But anyway, yeah, so I have to say these Trip Machine Chelsea boots in sort of this tobacco colour, the ones that you'll see me putting on at the start of this video, all being well, really comfortable, feel top quality. And again, if you follow the link in the description, get yourself over to Trip Machine. Got a lot of very cool, well made leather and suede goods for the discerning gentleman motorcyclist, and of course the discerning lady motorcyclist. But yeah, really comfortable, and no laces or anything like that to worry about, just a side zip. Customary to signal when you go in left. And right. Any road up. Ooh, where what I want anywhere really. I was just waxing lyrical, wasn't I? Tomorrow, going out with Andy and Colin tomorrow, and we're I don't know which video you'll see first, but as it is for me now here today, we're going out tomorrow and we're going to do a lovely loop round the North York moors. So looking forward to that. I'll be cancel your indicator, you bell end. I am such a bell end when it comes to indicators. Guilty as charged. I often, of course, when you've been in cops for 30 years, you've no shortage of tales to tell. Some of them very dark, desperate tales, but some of them absolutely bloody hilarious. And I were telling one to somebody the other day that when I worked out at Bradford City Centre, Bradford Central Police Station, there was a report writing room there where you wrote up all your paperwork. And each PC had like a tray racked up in a set of shelves. And in there you kept all your paperwork, your files. And one of the favourite things at sergeants, what they used to do to make sure you were on top of your game, were to do what they called a tray check. So you'd take your tray in to the sergeant's office, and the sergeant would rifle through all your paperwork, and if you found any files that were overdue or not been submitted, close to being statute barred, or inappropriate minute sheets that you'd written, slagging somebody off or whatever, you used to get a right bollocking. Tray checks. So the sergeant would check your tray. If they're out untoward, you get a good slap and enter in your pocketbook, and then like off you went back to your duties. And the one time they would, you could guarantee the sergeant were going to check everybody's tray, well, when there were a bit of an inspection coming, a visit from a very, very senior officer. And by very, very senior, I mean sort of above the rank of Chief Superintendent, because Chief Superintendent's sort of in charge of the division, say Bradford Division, but above that, from headquarters, there are a few Assistant Chief Constables, and then just one Deputy Chief Constable, and of course the Chief Constable. But it wasn't unknown for the ACCs, the Assistant Chiefs, to go out and visit police stations. And if that were in the offing, you could guarantee every PC would get a tray check from sergeant to make sure everything were in order, for fear of this ACC or his staff officer just doing a dip sample into somebody's clerical tray as some sort of measure of the overall health of the division. And of course, it was bad news for the division, innit it? The Chief Super would have got a right bollocking if all clerical trays were in shit order. But anyway, on this particular day, I don't know if the sergeants had forgotten to do it, or whether or not it were a surprise visit, whether it were an ambushing job that ACC rocks up with staff officer, and they decide to do a dip sample of one of these here clerical trays. Now fortunately, it wasn't my shift, it wasn't our shift that got selected. But this here Assistant Chief Constable, this will be back in early to mid 80s, picks this particular tray completely at random, picks out this clerical tray, starts rifling through it, and all he finds is a bloody old kebab from last night. Statutory A4 sheet of jokes, and 2 statute barred files. Oh, they were out to pay. Hilarious. I mean, obviously PC in question got a right stuffing, denied all knowledge about the inappropriate jokes. I don't know if he coughed to the kebab. Because it wasn't unknown if you were having your snap in report room, say on nights, if a big shout went out, a fight, or somebody asking for assistance, it wasn't unknown for you to chuck your supper in your clerical tray so nobody nabbed it. Because everything goes if it ain't nailed down in a police station. So it wasn't unknown for folk to put the snap in a clerical tray and leg it off, and then of course if they ended up getting tied up, they'd forget all about what they'd left in clerical tray. So obviously there were this here kebab festering on top of a page of bloody highly inappropriate jokes, and the only 2 files that were in there were bloody statute barred, which were a mortal sin. Oh dear, hilarious. Not for the individual concerned. Fortunately, that particular fate never befell me. I had no end of bollockings from sergeants for having out-of-date paperwork. No end. But, yeah, I never got dip sampled by the high and mighty and, you know, given a proper fizzing on the back of it. I think that poor lad might have got formally disciplined as well. I might have got a written warning for it. Ooh. Hey, what a carry on. Them work days. Right. Time for a pie or something. I'll speak to you soon. There we go. Aye, so it was just the first run out of this year on this fantastic BSA Goldstar 650, apropos of nothing more. A bit of banter for you. An old coppering tale for you. Sometimes it's just nice to come out without any particular agenda in mind and just ramble on a bit. And if folk get sick of it, they can always switch off. Aye, so yes, I'll shut my fat gash now. Let the scenery unfold for you. Wish you safe riding. And until the next time, and in the meantime, ride safe, be kind, and I'll see thee.